Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Migrant Career Support Trust. This is our first event of 2023. We are starting a little easy with an online event. For those of you who don't know about our trust, a quick introduction on that. We are called the Migrant Career Support Trust, and we are a non-profit charitable trust. The idea behind what we do is to support migrants like yourself in their career journey to get into the mainstream careers in New Zealand. Our key focus is on upskilling, people and migrants of all ethnicities with their hard skills as well as soft skills. Hard skills would be something like what we are doing today: how to write a CV, how to face an interview, and we also do workshops on soft skills like how to do networking, how to make a LinkedIn profile, how to just work or maybe do an internship, understanding the Kiwi work environment and all of those things. We'll talk more about our activities later in the end of the session. But let's put a spotlight today. Today's topic is about CV writing. So we have with us Helen Corban. Hello, Helen. Thank you so much for joining us. Helen will share some invaluable tips that will help you best present your CV so it gets noticed and you are selected for a job interview. So that's the objective of a CV, and that's what Helen will guide you. So before I hand over to Helen, just a quick introduction on her. So Helen is a professional coach who has a wealth of experience in business training and coaching. Among other roles, she has worked in the employment and recruitment industry for over 8 years, managing employment programs and coaching individuals to success in their job search journey. Helen has a large network of employers. She has the ability to work with individuals at all stages of their career from all backgrounds. Helen's style of coaching is focused, pragmatic, and also kind and empathetic. With 15 years delivering time management training and coaching, Helen is also strategic and focuses on planning, the key to victory in landing the job that you want. She understands what you need to do to succeed in this current job environment and can help you achieve your objectives. Helen has a large network of employers always collaborating to help employers and job candidates connect. So that's Helen. She has real world experience as well. And that's the reason we requested Helen to come and join us. Welcome, Helen.
Thank you so much. I will share my screen and welcome everybody. As Gary said, it would be great for you to put your videos on because it's better to see faces rather than black squares, but I will share my screen now.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So first of all, I will just give you a quick introduction. So essentially, I'm a business coach and I specialize in time management and leadership. And I'm also a job search coach. So I'm now 28 years in my own businesses, and my background has always been training and coaching. And I focus always on solutions. I'm very pragmatic, as Gary said. So I've got 15 years solid time management training and experience. I obviously work in New Zealand, but I also trained in Japan, and I trained in Japan in the Japanese language. And I had a contract over there backwards and forwards for a couple of years and trained it all in Japanese. My Japanese level has sunk to a low level now, but that was in 2003 and 2004. I also had my second baby in the middle of all of that. So I am super organized. I also worked in Rarotonga, and that was incredible, incredibly busy people. And I went to a lunch one day and I was ashamed to say that I only had 2 children, not 9 or 10 or 11, and only one business, not 2 or 3. Okay. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing time management training. I've had 2 fantastic jobs in my life, and one job is relevant to tonight, and that's working at the Auckland Business Chamber, or the Auckland Chamber of Commerce. It's recently rebranded. And I managed employment programs with skilled professional migrants like yourself who were in New Zealand and struggling to find employment. And also I started off at 22 in a women's refuge as a social worker. And that was an amazing role in my life as well, which set me up. So I'm always interested in people. The essence of who I am is coaching for success and also celebrating relationships. So I'm a real people person. I love to network, and I'm driven to make a difference, to find solutions in business and in life.
Can I add one thing there, Helen?
Yes.
Just want to let everyone know when you said that you love networking, and I
Yes.
just want to endorse that because if you remember, I found you through networking.
That's right.
We found each other
Absolutely.
at a networking event. So yeah, networking is real world and it helps, you know.
Absolutely. And I network everywhere,
Yeah.
absolutely everywhere. And I'll tell you about that as we go through this. So the objective for today is to share some invaluable tips that will help you to present your CV as best you can so it gets noticed and you're selected for a job interview. So what we'll cover, what is it, and why do you need a CV? And what do employers want? And obviously we focus in New Zealand, how to write about your skills in your CV. Tailoring your CV. This is so important, and so many people forget about this. The general principles of CV writing, a layout that I would recommend, and tips to get you noticed. Tips so that your CV gets to the top of the pile and you become front of mind with the employer. So the CV. So we generally say CV in New Zealand, not resume. And we all know what a CV is, really, but it's basically, it presents us formally to an employer, and we use it to apply for a job. It is your marketing document. It is a formal business document, and so your language needs to reflect that, and it's an integral part of your job search strategy. And it's a record of your accomplishments related to employment, education, unpaid work, what you do in your private time as well. That's important these days. I'll tell you why later. And it provides the evidence of these activities in a coherent and structured way. So what is the purpose of a CV? The key objective of your CV is to gain you an interview. You want your CV to be so good that the employer looks at it and says, I need to speak to this person, and they pick up the phone. That's the objective. So just talking about the New Zealand workplace. And so you need to always put yourself into the employer's shoes. This is really, really important. And New Zealand has about 97%. The companies in New Zealand, 97% are small businesses, SMEs, and they've got less than 20 employees. And I double-checked that statistic today. It is still true. So if you're looking for work in a big corporate, those corporates, the big companies, the multinationals, are only 3%. So most of the New Zealand workplace looks like this. It's a small team. And when you're in a small team, there's a lot that comes along with that. So everyone is a generalist, and you need to multitask. And when I was at the chamber, I used to ask this question in my training. I would say, if we are all a generalist and we're multitasking and we've got an event coming up, would you clean the toilets? And I had lots of people say, no, I would never clean the toilets. But it was quite amusing because at the Chamber of Commerce, my manager was in charge of the toilets, and for some reason they would often flood. So my manager would be in the toilets. So it's about, in New Zealand, it's about, rolling up your sleeves and getting the job done. And that is a principle and a value that we have. So New Zealand workplace, generally friendly and sociable, and it's important to be like that. It's busy. So after the last 3 years, we're even more busy. People have lost their jobs. People have, changed their lives with COVID. So there are people doing 1.5, 2 people. I met someone recently doing 2.5 people's jobs. The job description had changed. So they are busy. So if you don't hear back from an employer, if you've sent your CV in, never assume that they don't necessarily want to talk to you if you haven't got a rejection email, but maybe assume that they're busy. That is my default. If people don't get back to me, I don't think they don't want to talk to me. I think they are busy. And sometimes I think possibly disorganized because I have all this time management background. So New Zealand Workplace, they're looking for problem solvers. It's a very flat hierarchy. It might seem less structured and less status oriented, and we're very casual, but we still know who the boss is, and we still know who the CEO is, and we still show that respect, but it is definitely a lot more casual than some countries and people that I've worked with. Possibly limited induction and training. So you just have to get in there and just get started and find out for yourself. And that can happen. An emphasis on doing things for yourself and also helping others. And gender equality. So that's a big one these days with the rainbow community and people being very accepting of other people. There's a real focus on that these days, and important to make sure that you understand it and are in that space. So what do employers want? So having worked with lots of very small companies, when they're hiring staff, it's actually a really important and sometimes a really big deal for them. So they might be, I've worked with people, and getting one staff member is huge. You know, they're now responsible for somebody's life and their family and paying them every week. And so it's really important that they find the right people. And I have got lots of stories about that. And these small businesses, and they've stepped out and employed somebody. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if it's really important for you to also do your research on the employer and what they want and what they need and what they're looking for, as well as vice versa, because it's your life as well. We spend more time at work than we do with our families. So employers are looking for a package of skills, personal attributes, work experience. Life experience does count these days, absolutely. Qualifications in education and attitude and fit are crucial. So I'm not sure if all of you know what I mean by fit, but fit is something that is so important. When I worked at the Chamber of Commerce, I was like a pea in a pod. I don't know if you know that expression, but I went there. I loved it. I loved my job every day, 8 years, loved it. And the odd day maybe towards the end was a bit hard, but it was great. And we got on really well, and it was just, I was home. So having that fit is really, really important. And I still see my ex-colleagues on a very regular basis. By the way, you can connect into the Chamber of Commerce, or the Auckland Business Chamber as it's called now, and they are really helpful. They have networking, they have all sorts of things which might be helpful to you. So an attitude is so important. An employer will choose someone with a better attitude. If you've got 2 people and they've got the same amount of skills and qualifications and they're similar, they will always pick the person that they like the most, but also who has the best attitude. Attitude, you can't buy attitude. You can't, attitude is just so important. And I hope that all makes sense. Okay. So, and some of you might be changing from one country to New Zealand, or changing from one career path to another one, and you will have transferable skills. So skills that can be, so customer service, for example, is easily transferable. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, that customer service skill can be transferred between different industries. So all the same qualities are there for you to be someone that delivers excellent customer service. So what is crucial for employers? So strong verbal communication skills and strong written communication skills. In your CV, if you say you've got excellent English and your CV is peppered with grammatical and spelling mistakes, you're out. Okay, so always get your English checked. They look for that people who are adaptable, can do, willing to learn, they're self-motivated, a self-starter. And team player, there's a huge emphasis on being a team player. So if you've led teams or if you've been in teams and you can show that you fit into teams and you've done well in teams on your CV. And I know it's sometimes hard to show it on your CV, but there are tips and tricks to do that. It's really important. They love energy and enthusiasm. Well, who doesn't? So it's important. Problem-solving skills and analytical and conceptual skills. So these are the top 10 that employers want. So targeting and tailoring your CV. So this is interesting. I had somebody send me three job from India. Actually, no, he's in Oman, I think. Anyway, he sent me 3 cover letters and 3 job descriptions. And he wasn't sure what to do with it. You have to target and tailor to each job application. I remember once, and I wouldn't suggest that you do this every time, I remember spending 6 hours on one job application. And that's because I did a little bit, I went away, I thought about it, came back. I was rewriting my CV at the time, but if you tailor your CV to the job description, so if you can get that job description, it makes a world of difference. So somebody sent me their CV recently, and they were applying for a job using chemicals. I can't remember exactly what the job was. Their CV talked about their background in IT and also passion about music. So there was no connection. So you have to just be very, very targeted. Okay. So if you see on the job advertisement, let's say you're looking at something on Seek, contact the employer directly and speak to them. So and if you can, always find a way to personalize things so that the employer knows who you are. That makes a big difference. So networking, as Gary said, is so important. If you network and meet people and then say, look, I'm actually looking for an opportunity, not a job. I'm looking for my next opportunity. It's all about posture. And, would it be okay if I sent my CV through to you? So when you're out and about, it's important to be open to opportunities. So I remember networking on the soccer field when I was watching my son play soccer. I'd be looking for employers to find jobs for my migrants. When I'm at the supermarket, I always meet someone I know. I've always got my makeup on in the supermarket in case I run into someone I know. New Zealand is so, so small. Auckland is small. So be open to meeting people, and if you can find a way to directly contact the employer, it makes a huge difference. So read the job ad and the job description carefully. So I always just get a highlighter pen and I go through with the highlighter pen and I identify exactly what they want. I identify what's non-negotiable and if it says advantageous, so it would be advantageous if you've had experience with this particular software. That doesn't mean it's a deal breaker. But go through very carefully and then tailor your CV. So don't copy and paste from the job description into your CV or cover letter, but try and rewrite it, but get some of those keywords in there. So the important skills the employer is looking for, this is what they value. This is what they're looking for. And it is important to make sure that you can see that. And you show that you've noticed that and that you're aware of that. So give the employer the information that they want in your CV, and you only have a few seconds to make an impression. So it's about 4 to 7 seconds. People are busy. They just glance through, whether it's in paper, normally these days it's online. They'll just glance through. I've had recruiters tell me how ruthless the procedure can be. They just delete. It's a tough game, but if you have some of this, if you take the time and tailor your CV, you're well ahead of the game, because a lot of people don't do that. And I tell you, people who don't do that, and that's people like me, Kiwis, we don't bother. We just say, oh yeah, we'll get a job, off we go. And that's not the way to do it, because there is competition out there. So yeah, you've got that short window, and give evidence when, where, how you did something. If you say that you're a super salesperson, give them some evidence. So you increase sales by 25% in 3 months by using a certain strategy. So that evidence is important. And with your CV, it's not about blowing your own trumpet and saying, hey, look at me, I'm fantastic. It's about giving solid evidence about who you are and why they should employ you. So I love this. This is what your job is as a job seeker. There's you, and you're a package, and you've got your skills and your strengths, you've got your qualities, your attributes, you've got some education, you've got experience, both business experience and life experience. If you're just starting out, some of that life experience, if you've done some volunteering, that's important as well. And you've got your attitude, and that's really, really important. And the employer, they've got their job description, and your job is to tell the employer that you've got what they want. Tell the employer that you're a match, and tell the employer, and make it really easy for the employer to pick you. So I'm hoping this all makes sense. So general principles of CV writing. So keep it concise. Use a simple, easy to read font. You don't need to get fancy. So when I started applying for jobs in the 80s, I used to put it on beautiful paper. I would send little chocolate bars tied to the CV. It was all just lovely. We don't do that these days. And we also don't put a photo on there. I had photos and I had all sorts of things. I had bows tied with my chocolates and my tea bags. You know, have a cup of tea and read my CV. They don't do it these days. So list your job history, starting with the most recent role first. And if you're still working, that's all good. And that can be a bit tricky sometimes when you're looking for a job and you're still working. We might be able to talk that through. Use a consistent and clear layout through the CV. So I've seen CVs that have got 3 or 4 different fonts, several different sizes. Just make sure you check, double check. So important, because it's a professional business document. Use headings to create clear sections. So proofread or have somebody else proofread is absolutely vital. So somebody like me, I can spot a grammatical mistake and a spelling mistake just like that, and lots of people can. And sometimes it makes a difference between yes or no. So just have somebody who's a native English speaker just check your CV, and that will make a difference. Avoid using abbreviations and technical jargon, and especially if it's from another country, we may have no idea in New Zealand, or we may have something similar, but yeah, just keep it, it might be a financial software like Xero that you use in your country, but it's not very common in New Zealand, or it's not even in New Zealand. So just, say financial software and explain it like that. Okay. Place the most important information in a prominent position. Add points of difference that make you stand out. So this is about who you are. So it is important to have your achievements in there as well. And I've talked about it being formal. So there are differences between New Zealand and overseas with the formality of the language. We don't really use dear sir and dear madam in New Zealand in your cover letter, for example. And I often see, please, herewith is attached my CV, that kind of word. We don't use that in New Zealand. We are much more casual. And if you're writing a cover letter, it's dear Helen, dear or dear hiring manager, not dear Miss Helen or Mrs. Helen. It's dear Helen. Reflect the words used in the job description. There are all kinds of keyword search software these days that will go through your CV. And if you don't have enough keywords in your CV, then you might get a very quick automated response saying you've been declined for the role. And that means that a human being hasn't looked at your CV at all. So it's been run through a software, they're looking for keywords, and there's not enough keywords in there. So use that. Just be very aware of that. And if you're clever with your CV and clever with your cover letter, and just get a little bit of help with it sometimes, it just makes the difference. So use action words to describe your skills. I've developed, I've arranged, and 2 to 4 pages max. And just a few more things. So leave out anything more than 10 years prior. You could have 15 years prior if you've had some big chunky roles, but generally they don't care what you were doing 30 years ago. Even though it might have been really interesting and really good, but you can summarize that kind of thing in the skills section. So you might say you've had 8 years experience doing such and such. And ensure your contact details are easy to find. You can have a footer with your name, phone number, and you can have the page number there, because that can be helpful, because instead of they going to the top, you've got it at the bottom the whole time. Don't leave out useful skills, and just it is really helpful to get somebody else, like a good friend or even your spouse or partner, to help you write your skills section. And we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. If you have gaps in your employment, if you did some traveling, for example, a lot of women might take some time off to raise children. There's still, when you raise children, what do? You learn a whole heap of skills. You are a taxi driver, you're a chef, you're a negotiator. Sometimes you're negotiating with terrorists, those little kids. So it's about showcasing what you've done and just making sure that there's something positive from it. So just make sure everything is relevant and positive and true. So I've met a few people who've told a few lies or stretched the truth a wee bit in their CVs. It never works. So just make sure it's all relevant and positive. So this is an outline of how you could have your CV. I do have a template that I use, but just I'll quickly go through this. So just in New Zealand, we only use our first and last name, no middle names. And I know that some people have very long names. You might, even though it's a formal business document, it's not a legal document. It doesn't have to be. If you have a very long Christian name, for example, you can shorten it. If people do shorten it, that is fine. These days, it's optional to have your address. You don't need to have your address. You might want to put, if you're in Auckland, you might want to put the suburb that you live in and Auckland, but you don't have to have your address. Obviously, cell phone number, if you're overseas, you need to have the area code and their email address, and LinkedIn. Now, I think we've got time, but I just want to show you. You can see this is my LinkedIn here, and all of you, LinkedIn is a great space. If you're looking for work, LinkedIn is a great space for you to be in. So you can see I've got linkedin.com and I've got in Helen Corban. You can actually tailor your CV, tailor your URL. And I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. I'm going to jump off here and I'm going to share my LinkedIn. Here it is. Okay, so this is my LinkedIn profile. And okay, so if you go to me and you go to view profile, so write this down. This is really important because what you end up, if you don't do this, you end up with a whole lot of letters and numbers. And it's just really professional if you've got your own name. So you go into your profile and you can see here, edit public profile and URL. And if you click on that, and I'm hoping that everyone's seeing this, it clicks through and you can customize here. You click on here and you can change the name at the end. So if your name is quite common, you might have to be a little bit creative, and you could possibly put, let's say Helen Corban was very common. There are 2 Helen Corbans in Auckland, but you might say Helen Corban Coach, and then save it. So that's just a really nice thing to do. Okay, let me just come back. Did that make sense, everybody? Give me a wave. Okay, because that is so good to just look really onto it, look professional, and I'll just come back to my screen. Okay, so have you tailor your LinkedIn URL. Career objective. So this is only a couple of, so it's like a short paragraph. It's not about what you want. It's about what you offer. And so you would say that you might say something like, I'm currently seeking the business development role at, and you put the company that you're applying at. Let's say it's telecom, and where I can utilize a wealth of experience in customer service and account management, something like that. It's not about, I want to work in a company that does this and offers me that sort of thing. It's about what you offer to the employer, not about what you want, because you can talk about what you want later. The key is to get that interview first. Okay. So key skills and experience. So you can have several sections. You can have 5, 6, 7 sections talking about what your skills are, what experience you've had. And this is the hard part. This is the part that people find really tricky at times, because it's hard to showcase yourself. It's hard to think, what am I really good at? So sometimes you can ask friends, colleagues, your partner, spouse, whoever, and ask, what would you say my core skills are? And they say, well, you know what they are. They're this, this, and this. They know, but you don't necessarily know. So when I originally did my CV years ago, I updated it, I think, in the 90s or something. I had an HR person do my CV for me, and she just did a fantastic job. So I still use bits and pieces of that, but it just helped me to actually think, well, yes, and I've got all this experience, but how do you put it into basically one page? So that is the trick. So, and also personal attributes. You can have sort of up to 5 bullet points. You can have a couple of things. It's not moving now. Oh, here we go. So just to remind you, or just in case you're sort of wondering, but defining skills, your skills are your ability to do something. You learn through work and life experience, developed over time by completing tasks and actions, and this dictates whether you can do a job. And this is what sets you apart from every job seeker. You might have 5 candidates, they've all got an MBA, they've all worked in the same industry, but there will be something different about you. In defining attributes, this is a quality or feature regarded as characteristic or inherent, or an inherent part of someone or something. So this is you, your character, your qualities, what makes you special, and we're all special. So the qualities you have, and some skills and attributes are harder to define. So organized, you can actually learn to be organized, but you also can be one of these people that's naturally very organized. So yeah, and you have to sort of think that through. And it dictates how you do a job. So these also set you apart and make you special. So I hope that all makes sense. And I would encourage you, when you do your skills and attributes, to get some support and get someone to help you showcase yourself really well, because a lot of recruiters, a lot of employers read that first page, and then if there's no impression made, they move on to the next one. So that's where you get to say, this is who I am. And they say, okay, let's see what this person's done. So that's, it's really key. So just carrying on, and I'm doing okay for time, Gary, I think.
We have completed around nearly 40 minutes. So another 5-10 minutes should be okay.
Yes, we're all good. All good.
Thank you.
So employment history, as I said, the last 10 years, you can stretch to 15 if you really have to. But one thing that's really important is to have your key achievements. So what you did in the role, but also what you achieved out of that role. And some people, again, find this tricky. So what did I think about? What did you learn? What did you gain? How did you add value to the company? And those are your key achievements. If you were recognized, if your manager said, hey, you're a superstar, we so appreciate you every day. You know, whatever happened, those are your achievements. Qualifications, education, make sure you say where it was and who it was. And you can also have professional memberships in there as well. Community and voluntary work. Now, this is really interesting, especially for young people who've got very little job experience. If you've volunteered anywhere, even, church, and you led groups and you helped and you did this and you took part in community projects, whatever it is, it shows that you're somebody that gets out there and helps people, and it shows some of the qualities about yourself. So community and voluntary work, sometimes that's huge, and you actually have a whole lot of skills that can be there. And interests. Use the space to tell the employer about your interests. So again, you can tailor this. You tailor this, like, for example, if you're a young person applying for an accountant, and all the accountants there are all older, they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, you're starting out in your career, and your hobbies and interests are skydiving and extreme sports and all that sort of thing, it may not necessarily be a fit with much older colleagues. So think about what you do, and this just makes, if you say I'm an IT person, my interests are gaming all weekend, that doesn't work. So it's about something different, and stay away from the I like shopping, I like music, I like listening to music. So something that makes you special. And if you don't have any hobbies, what are you passionate about? And the last thing there is referees available on request. These days, you don't need to have your referees on your CV, because sometimes employers, I hate to say this, but they're rude enough to ring your referees without you having prepped them. Your referees are gold to you. They're people that will say, I've worked with Helen. Yes, she's great at this. And they're someone that you want to, nurture, really. You don't want them to be contacted by various employers without you having said, just checking in, are you still okay to be my referee? Because they are people in your toolkit and important. So last thing is finding a job as a full-time job. Now, some of you will be working full-time still, and some of you won't be, but treat it as a full-time job. Be professional, be organized. And you may come across a vacancy unexpectedly when you're out and about. So you might even have your CV in your, copy of your CV in your car. And if let's say you've applied for 20 jobs in the last month, and it is a numbers game, and just make sure that you have a list of all the roles that you've applied for. Me, I would do a spreadsheet and just, key people, make some notes, because if you get a phone call and you have no idea who it is and no idea what the job is, it doesn't sound very good. And be careful when you are applying for lots of jobs where you answer your phone. I remember answering my phone driving at 100 kilometres on the motorway, and it was, there are that a phone screen call is that short 5-minute call that asks you, are you available now? What's the hourly rate you want? And you're just on the spot. Very direct, personal questions. So you do want to be prepared and decide the best strategy for you. So what is the best way for you to approach this whole job search journey? So that is it, basically. If you take a photo of that QR code, hang on. If you take a photo of that QR code, that will take you to a free 30-minute chat with me, or you can email me or call me if you need some help. I'm happy to help. So that's it, really. Thank you.
That was very nice, Helen, and I think everyone enjoyed. So, can we have a virtual clap of hands for Helen? And I'm sure. So now we'll leave the forum open for some questions. I will enable now people so that you can unmute yourself. 1 minute. Okay, so I've allowed you guys to unmute yourself. I'll start a few questions, 1 or 2 questions, and then if anyone wants a question, please don't start speaking. What you can do is you can raise your hands virtually or physically, and please open your video. And Ruchika, you can guide us who is the next person, and I can moderate. Yeah. And you can also unmute yourself, Ruchika. So, Helen, just a quick one question which I have for you. You said you should write your work experience and life experience. What's the difference between work experience and life experience?
Well, so it depends on the role that you're applying for. For example, so the life experience all gets weaved into your work experience, obviously, but let's say you're doing some sort of counselling and you've been through a certain situation, you may highlight that.
Okay.
So if it's relevant, then you would just weave it into your CV.
So, for example, if I'm doing a job, is obviously it's a work experience, and if I have been volunteering with a community organization or even a religious organization,
yes,
does that count as life experience?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So you would put that in the volunteer section.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
definitely, and showcase it, because when people volunteer, so I go to church and I volunteer, but I know people there, they just do so many things and
Yeah.
they do all these different roles and they learn all these skills and they do them for years.
Hmm.
And so it does make a difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, about very important point, I just want to highlight when you said that especially for people who are coming from other countries, to clarify your qualifications. And I just want to share a personal story here, which many of you will identify with. So I have done my masters in mass communication in India, which is called media studies in New Zealand. And I didn't realize that just actually this happened 3 days ago. My daughter, who's 14 years old now and has a subject in media studies, she asked me a question and I gave her answer, helped her in assignment. And she's asking me, how come you could answer this question? And I said, hello, don't you know I did a master's in media studies? She said, no, no, you've done something in mass communication. I never thought that's media studies. And I was like, oh my God, even she didn't realize, my daughter. And it never occurred to me that I must have done that mistake when I was finding a job 12, 13 years ago. So it really does happen. Sometimes we just take it for granted that, this is what everyone knows about that. So I think that I would just like to highlight what you have just said. I think that's a very, very practical thing. And maybe can we also do another thing, Helen, that add what are the subjects we have done in that course? So that sometimes if the employer would know that if you've done a master's in something, something, and if it's not very clear what it is, should we write the subjects we have covered in that?
Yeah, you can do that. Just make sure um yeah, just it's not too long, or
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
just the core
Yeah,
subjects,
just the core
because
subjects.
you don't have a lot of space in your CV.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's only sort of up to 4 pages. But if it adds value to your CV and presenting you,
Mm.
and you're applying for something, marketing, and you've done a MBA, but you were focusing on marketing and you focused on 4 specific topics, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'll just quickly share one or two more activities that which we are doing, which will help you guys. So this is a project which we are also doing parallelly called Career Clinic. This is mainly for people who are physically here in Auckland. You can go online on our website and register. Through Career Clinic, we give you 3 1-hour sessions with a registered career counselor like Helen. We have a great pool and great talent of registered counselors. They will give you 3 1-hour sessions completely free of cost, which will be one-to-one sessions, they will guide you on what's wrong with your CVs, how you get help, and you can ask any of those questions and get some practical help on your CVs, interviews, or even just you if you don't know what to do or where we are going. Those kind of questions can be answered well. So many people have benefited on this. This program is continuing and it's an ongoing program. So please go register on our website and take advantage of that. There is another program that's coming up, and that's called the Job Seeker Boot Camp. This is quite a popular program which we run regularly. This is a 2-day program workshop on April 28th and 29th. This is happening in East Auckland this time, in Pakuranga, Anchorage Park Community House. It's again a free but it's intensive 2-day workshop where we cover all aspects of job hunting. And our lovely Helen will also be there. She has agreed to be one of the experts in that some of the sessions. She will be covering things on time management, and she's a super at that. And definitely you cannot get through in life without time management. So whatever is your career, it will be important for you. We will cover a lot of CV writing formats, understanding transferable skills. You will get one-to-one coaching on your writing your CV. We even cover things like LinkedIn, and soft skills, understanding the Maori culture in workplace, which is very, very important in New Zealand. So these are a couple of things which you can do. I will encourage everyone to go on our website, which is www.migrantcareers.org.nz. Our social media links are here. Connect on our LinkedIn page. We do post a lot of jobs every now and then. Go to our YouTube, watch this webinar and many similar webinars we've done in the past. These are all the places where you can RSVP for upcoming events. This is registration for Career Clinic. This you must have already done, and that's how you are here. Job Seeker Bootcamp has a separate registration tab. Please go click here and attend that. These are little snapshots of all our videos, webinars. So be part of that. Do subscribe if you have not subscribed to our newsletter. Please do subscribe because you will get a lot of information from us. So this is what we have been doing, and I hope you keep connected with us, and I hope this session was good for you and it helped you in some way. Thank you, Helen. Any last words you have for us?
It's interesting listening to some of the barriers and some of your journeys, and I know that looking for the right job can be a real journey. So it's really important to keep being persistent, do the right things, and get some good support around you, because we can't do it alone. You have to sort of have that support to stay positive and stay focused. And yeah, so please link in with me if you'd like to. I'm super friendly, and I really wish you all the very best in your journey. Thank you for having me, Gary and Ruchika.
Thank you, Helen. And I can definitely vouch for that Helen is a lovely lady and very helpful too. And to all of you guys, best of luck in whatever you're doing, and keep strong, keep positive. Don't let anything bog you down. We all have gone through that same journey, so you're not alone. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with you. You are not alone. It's just this world, and we have to learn to navigate it. And please do see if you can come for the physical workshops, because like Helen is saying, networking is very important. You'll meet like-minded people. We also get people from the industry, and we'll try and see if we can get you started networking. There is a session on how to network also. So if some of you are wondering what is this networking all about, so please come, we'll explain you, we'll help you how you can get on with it. So with that, I think we bring this session to a close. We have done a bit of overtime, but thank you for your encouraging response, and leave your feedback, and we'll be back with you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.